Now I'll make a pirate stew out of you.
Hands up and stand back, partner.
An egg beater?
Yeah, an egg beater.
Welcome back to That Groovy Scoobcast.
Your go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo.
My name is Derek.
And I'm Shannon.
And today we are doing our wild card episode, the first of its kind here on this podcast. Today we'll be reviewing Go Away Ghost Ship from Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Shannon, initial thoughts on this episode? It's a Scooby-Doo, Where Are You episode. I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I love them and I hate them.
It's not super high expectations, I suppose.
No, they're old episodes, so I'm not really, I'm more lenient when it comes to, the animation errors and all that, because this is where they kind of just mass-produce the episodes.
Yeah.
But...
Well, then you also have to consider what we watched earlier this season when we did our actual Where Are You episode, Jeepers It's the Creeper, which was much more enjoyable than this one.
Yes.
But before we delve into that review, we are going to kick off the last Mystery Machine match for this season. Currently, Shannon is leading with 28 points. Meanwhile, I am sitting with 22.
Woohoo!
And, I mean, based on our point structure, it looks like Shannon is going to win. However, I'm going to do a recount when this episode is over.
Derek just doesn't believe that I can be this good at Scooby-Doo knowledge.
I demand a recount.
Okay,
well, before any of that has to happen, Shannon, as always, you can go first today with your question.
In Strange Encounters of a Scooby Kind, a space alien steals precious metals from a lab doing what type of research? Nuclear or biochemical?
Nuclear.
Yeah!
We watched that episode last season.
I know,
remember?
that's why I said you had to get that one right.
Yeah. Okay, here is your first question. What kind of rope does Yabadoo not always use correctly? Think cowboy, I guess.
Is it like a material?
No, what you do with it.
Oh, like a lasso.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, lasso. What is your next question?
Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays Fred in the Scooby-Doo movie, starred in a film called She's All Blank. I think it was an Amanda Bynes movie. I know that's not going to help you at all.
The only thing that sounds correct is She's All That.
Yeah.
Is it that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, here is your next question. When the Scooby-Doo gang meets Dick Van Dyke, what has the TV star just purchased? A carnival or a yacht?
Carnival.
Yes, you are correct.
Didn't we watch that or not yet?
No, we haven't seen that one yet. It's not a favorite of mine, though, as I remember.
I mean, none of them are my favorites, so...
With the new Scooby-Doo movies, no, we always hate those. What's your last question for me?
Finish the name of Shaggy's alter ego. Commander Blank. Clue or Cool?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a pun name Scooby-Doo character. Here is your last question. The monster the Scooby Gang encounters in the ancient Turkish city of Byzantius is made of what?
I don't know. Sand?
Tar.
Oh. I don't know.
Well, right now it looks like we are finishing with you at the lead with 30 points. I am finishing with 25.
Ooh.
But we'll see what that recount has to say when we release the blooper sode.
It's going to read 25 and 30.
Either way, you're eating that pizza with me.
I get one bite, maybe,
okay.
if I'm feeling it.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm not liable.
Well, that concludes this week's Mystery Machine match. You ready to talk about Go Away Ghost Ship?
I guess so.
Okay. Well, like we said before, this episode is from Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The premise for this episode is coming from Scoobypedia. Scooby and the gang investigate the happenings of several freighters that are getting raided by the Ghost of Redbeard, the pirate and his crew.
Dun dun dun.
So this is a pretty straightforward Scooby-Doo episode. Something bad happens. The gang learns about it in the paper because these teens read the newspaper, and they hop on a ghost ship.
What they don't mention is the fact that it's 11 o'clock at night. the gang is hanging out at this malt shop, reading a newspaper, again, at like, I mean, even if we just say like 10 o'clock at night, like they're closing down the malt shop.
Well, also, like, this is today's newspaper, and you're reading this, like, almost tomorrow.
Yeah. And then they're like, hey, this bad thing happened today, or yesterday, I guess. And then they're like, well, it's 11 o'clock at night. Let's go see him.
Like, I'm just gonna stop by his pad. He'll be fine.
Like, he'll be fine.
That's not rude at all.
I would be in bed.
Yeah, I would be pissed. I wouldn't even answer the door.
No, I would have just
No wonder C.L. Magnus has his butler answering the door, because he's just like, who the fuck is at my house? It's 11 o'clock at night.
11. Like, the fact that he was awake and just hanging out by, like, the fireplace amazes me.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So before we do join the gang at the malt shop, we see a freighter captain. He's just kind of, chilling on the boat.
Doing his job.
And he's looking out, like, into the water for reasons with his binoculars. And he spots, like, an eerie fog. He sees, like, a silhouette of something. And he kind of gasps, because then he realizes that it's the ship of the Ghost of Redbeard, who has been evidently targeting other freighters, too. Like, he's not the first one.
I wonder if it was, like, just freighters in general, or if it was only CL's freighters.
Well, no, I think it was any freighter that was being, like, managed by that company.
Okay.
And, like, in that dock. But as we learn when Fred is reading the newspaper, these freighters are all kind of underneath that management, and it's a company that's evidently going under already.
Yeah.
I guess C.L. Magnus is kind of near going bankrupt, and
it's because he lives in a penthouse.
Well, I also like when they're sitting in the malt shop and they're talking about this, and Daphne, who evidently, like, has a history with this guy, she's like, who would want to get revenge on a nice man like C.L. Magnus? Like, she knows him personally.
I mean, she's also rich, so maybe, like, just rich people know each other. Like, you travel, like, maybe they attend the same club, like, they golf together on Sundays. I don't know.
I thought it was an interesting, like, throwaway. Like, Daphne already knows this man.
Well, also, I did want to talk about, while they were at the malt shop, they're all drinking, like, something out of a strawberry cup.
Like malts? Strawberry cup? What?
They all had, like, a pink drink.
Yeah, probably like a strawberry malt or
yeah,
something
like a strawberry malt. And, Scooby and Shaggy didn't have one. But Scooby and Fred are sitting next to each other, and Fred's drink has 2 straws, indicating that he's sharing a drink with Scooby.
Yeah, because Daphne has her own.
And Fred, the seating order went Scooby, Fred, Velma, Daphne, Shaggy.
Which is unusual in itself.
Yeah. And so then, like, Velma had her own drink that she had, like, her hand on the whole time.
Daphne was drinking her own.
Yeah. But
yeah, I guess Fred is just sharing his drink with Scooby.
Yeah.
That's cool. Shaggy is also making himself a sandwich at the table. He's not ordering it from the malt shop, which I feel like is wrong. Like,
I don't think you can bring your own food to stores.
Yeah. Stores.
Into other restaurants.
And he, like, has Scooby hold his paw, like, on the sandwich while he's tying it together, because he just piled on ingredients on that thing. And he's about to eat it, and then Scooby, like, yanks the string and eats it himself. He looks at the camera and, like, watch me do this, guys.
And I'm sorry, if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Scooby's an asshole.
But yeah, they do end up going to C.L. Magnus's penthouse at 11 o'clock at night. And they ring the doorbell. The eerie, scary butler opens the door. He's like, yes. And they're like, so we're here to see Mr. Magnus. Again, like, 11 o'clock at night. This is fine. We didn't have an appointment or anything like that. And he's like, yeah, sorry. He's not to be disturbed.
Because it's 11 o'clock at night.
And I would hope my butler would do the same in that instance.
You're getting fired if you let anybody into my house at 11 o'clock at night.
But I like how he didn't even offer to be like, come back tomorrow, or like, let's set up an appointment. He just like, he will not be disturbed, and then slams the door.
He was like, hey, bye.
And Daphne was just like, wow. As if like that was rude. Like, you guys are being rude. They decide to disguise themselves as like food service for the room. And Shaggy and Velma are like rolling this cart. Scooby is pretending to be the meal underneath the platter. And Daphne and Fred are hiding underneath the cloth that's over the cart. So they ring the doorbell, and the butler opens the door. They just like come strolling in like, food service.
Breakfast is served.
Breakfast is served. And he's like, at 11 o'clock at night. And he's like, yeah, well, that way you don't have to wait until the morning to eat it.
Yeah. Okay.
But they do end up tripping on a bear rug, and they all like collapse and they get caught. And C.L. Madness is like, what is the meaning of this? And Daphne's like, would you believe us if we said we're here to help you? And it's like, no. You're harassing me in the middle of the night. Go home.
Yeah.
Aren't you like 16?
Don't you have school tomorrow?
So he sits them down in his living room, and he's like, so like 300 years ago, Redbeard was like terrorizing the seas. And
didn't he say something about like his family personally?
Yeah, his family personally brought him to justice.
Oh, that's right.
And now Redbeard had sworn revenge on the family one day and something like that. So he thinks that this is his form of revenge.
Okay.
Which, okay, I guess.
Sure.
Whatever. And Velma's like, well, ghosts are our specialty. Like, we'll get to the bottom of this. And Fred's like, yeah, I already have a plan. Meanwhile, while they're talking to this guy, the butler is off, like, in the side room. He's looking at, like, the entire conversation, like, overhearing everything from behind the curtain. And he, like, kind of does, like, this grin and then just disappears. And that's the last time we ever see him.
We never see him again.
Because he's not one of the henchmen.
I was honest to God waiting for him to be, like, an FBI agent.
Something, yeah. Because he's not one of the henchmen either.
No.
So he's just being a sleazy little butler that's overhearing this conversation that has nothing to do with him at all.
And what do we always say for every episode is that there's an asshole and then there's the villain.
And I guess this guy is just an asshole because he's just being rude.
I mean, we never had time to get to know him, but I'm sure if we did, he would have been an asshole.
We cut to their plan. They decide to go out into the bay on like a little boat, I guess, that they rented. And they're
I hope that like somebody owned that boat, because I can't imagine having to pay the rental fee like after you destroy it.
Right, because they go out there pretending to be, you know, a freight ship. They have like a horn and like a tape recorder that Velma plays.
Yeah,
and
like a big ass speaker.
Exactly. And it's supposed to trick the ghost ship into thinking like, oh, this is the one that we're targeting tonight. The ghost ship does approach them, and like they can't, you know, get away from it because they try to put the boat in reverse, and the engine just rips off the boat
and like goes away.
It's like, great.
And then Fred's like, guys, paddle. Shaggy and Velma are the only ones who paddle. They both start paddling in different directions.
And they're like, we're not going anywhere.
And then also, like, Scooby, Daphne, and Fred are all just standing there, not doing anything.
Not doing anything at all, yes. The ship does hit their boat, and it breaks it in half. Scooby and Shaggy are on one side. Velma, Fred, and Daphne are on the other. Daphne's like, oh no, what's happening? And Fred's like, we're gonna sink. And she like immediately like grabs onto her head and she's like, oh no, my hairdo.
Yeah.
So this is like, you know, the kind of Daphne where like she is really into her looks and she hates to get her hair wet.
This is the Daphne that nobody likes.
There's nothing to like in her anyway.
Yeah.
So, but Shaggy and Scooby, who are now just chilling in the water, they decide to board the ship and, you know, kind of hide out on there. They hope that the others get on there okay.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that when the ghost ship was first approaching, and they said something about how you could cut the fog with a knife, and Scooby just pulls out a knife and actually cuts the fog.
I like that Scooby just has a knife ready for this.
Like, alright.
Scooby carries a knife, guys.
In this episode, the only resourceful people are Scooby and Fred.
In what instance is Fred resourceful?
When they have to get unlocked.
With the straw? That bullshit
yeah.
experiment we'll talk about later? Yeah. So, Scooby and Shaggy, they climb in through a window into, I'm assuming, like, the captain's quarters.
I think so.
That's where they crawled in. And they're kind of moseying around, and I think they run right into Redbeard, like, right then, because I think
they
Scooby
walked past his picture. Yeah.
Yes, and Scooby tried to like make fun of it, so he took out a marker and like drew a funny face on the picture, and then it turns out it's like a screen, so it goes up, and then the actual Redbeard's just chilling there. He's like, "Oh hey," so
first off, was Redbeard just hanging out waiting for something to happen?
Yeah, I guess just in his free time, that's what he's doing.
He's just sitting between the walls.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I'd be doing. Wouldn't you?
No.
Oh.
Because, like, I'm on a mission. Like, I'm out here to take down a freight.
I'm on a mission,
like,
guys.
I'm out here to, like, take down some, like, freight ships. What are they called?
Freighters.
Yeah. I'm out here to take down some freighters. And, like, as far as he knew, they were about to find one. He's just hanging out between the walls.
Yeah, he's just chilling. They run out of the room, and a sword, slashes through the wooden door and almost stabs Shaggy.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, nope. So they start going towards another door to where a ghost sword comes through.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this ghost sword for a second.
Okay. So it comes through the first door and then starts chasing them.
I wrote down to describe it, stupid fucking sword ghost thing.
Because the sword goes through the first door, but then it gets stuck in the second door that they run through.
Yes,
so that was kind of my only thing of just like, that was stupid. Right when it happened, though, I looked at Derek and I said, that's not going to be explained.
But it actually was. It was just a bullshit explanation. Again, we'll hit on that later.
Yeah.
While they're getting terrorized by Redbeard, the others do manage to get onto the ship. I guess they just climb up all the way to the rails of the top deck. So now they're standing on the ship. And my note was that Fred needs to keep his hands to himself. He has his wide hand sprawled out on Daphne's shoulder.
It looked disgusting.
I'm just like, Fred, let go of her.
Like, it looked like somebody broke his fingers and he was just like putting them on Daphne's shoulder. Like, his hand looked gross.
So they also start like wandering around trying to, search for clues, which I was like, I wonder if there's clues on this ship. Scooby and Shaggy eventually do get like cornered by Redbeard and his two henchmen, which are the first time we've seen them. Mm-hmm. They look miserable.
The henchmen, yeah.
Yes.
The one's face was just like, this is where my life is.
Their skin color was like a mixture of like brown and gray.
They're the only ones that actually looked like ghosts.
And I just like that they don't ever say anything, I don't think. And they're just chilling like, yeah, they look miserable. They look absolutely awful.
Maybe they're real ghosts.
Well, we do have a theory that there is a real ghost on this ship.
Yeah, so maybe like the fake Redbeard did his costume so well so that the ghosts are like, we don't know which is which, so we'll just follow both.
So, okay, let's explain that. So, Scooby and Shaggy, they're like on their knees, kind of like groveling, like, oh my god, like, don't hurt us. And Redbeard's like just laughing, like, ha ha ha, I have you. Meanwhile, Fred, Daphne, and Velma, they walk into a room. And
well, they were following also. So they were walking through the corridors and all of a sudden they saw
Redbeard. Yes.
And I don't remember which one of the girls was like, oh my gosh, it's Redbeard. And so they run over to where he's at because like, sure, chase a ghost.
Well, they were making some pirate pun jokes and they were laughing. And then they heard Redbeard laugh and they all thought it was Fred. It was like, Fred, our joke wasn't that funny.
Yeah.
But they do follow him into a room.
Well, so they run up to where he was and he had disappeared. Mm-hmm. And so they thought that he went into this room. So they went into the room. Again, because, like, why are you following him? But sure. And so then, like, the door shuts behind them, except it closed, like, from the inside. Like, somebody had to have been inside to close it or, like, reached in, but we didn't see an arm. So that's why I'm like, we're thinking this was the real ghost.
Yes, because this is happening at the same time, evidently, as Redbeard cornering Scooby and Shaggy. So our theory is that there's two Redbeards on the ship. One is real and one is fake.
And, like, I think that that Velma, Daphne, and Fred all had the encounter with the real ghost.
The real one.
Because that's the one that, like, the door closed on its own. Like, we didn't see a person close it. Mm-hmm. And then, like, he also did disappear, whereas, like, the Redbeard that we see with Scooby and Shaggy the entire time we see him, like, he's doing things, he can touch people, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So they're trapped in there, basically, for the rest of the time that they're on the ship. Scooby and Shaggy, they're with Redbeard, and they're just like, please don't hurt us, your ghostliness. And he's just like, well, he said something along the lines of like, well, if I can't find any use for you, he like takes his finger and like crosses it across his neck, and he's like, I'm gonna do makes this sound, like I'm gonna chop off your head.
Yeah, this is a children's cartoon, all right.
And Shaggy and Scooby like repeat the sound, and they're like, oh no.
Well, because he's like, if you're not useful, then you might as well be dead.
Yeah.
And that's when Shaggy goes, well, we can cook.
Yeah.
And Scooby was just like, can we? Like, he was like, he very much questioned it. He was like, yeah, sure, we can do that.
Redbeard did accept this offer, so he's like, okay, well, go in the kitchen and make me some dinner, or else. And it's like,
okay.
Yeah, so they go in the kitchen.
So they're gonna make ghost pirate stew.
Yes, so they're just boiling some seawater.
They add in chains, ashes from the stove, a spider web, and soap.
Which Shaggy notes he hardly ever uses it himself, but why not? Because that's just something we all need to know.
Yeah.
We didn't question it. I mean, I kind of believe that.
I believe it 100%, but like, it sucks. I'm sorry.
They mix it all together and they serve it to him. They're like, here you go, ghost pirate stew. And
so Redbeard goes, is this any good? Or, something like that. And they're like, yeah, we can cook. We're cooks. He goes, all right, then you eat it.
Yeah, so Scooby Shaggy's like, and he's like, eat it. So they just start munching on this stew.
And they devour it.
Yes. So the soap in it makes them start blowing bubbles.
Yeah.
And they blow a whole bunch of bubbles.
And then they run away.
Yeah, that's how they managed to escape, was, they blow it all in Redbeard's face. He's like, what is this? And they manage to escape him. They go and hide in, underneath a wooden tub. And they're, crawling underneath it across the top deck of the ship. And Shaggy's like, I hope that they don't find us. And it's like, well, then stop moving, and they won't find you.
Yeah. If he would have just sat in the corner, they could have survived the night.
Oh, you know what? I actually missed something.
Mm-hmm.
After they escape him, they, are kind of wandering around underneath the deck of the ship, and they do spot the henchmen. So they hide behind this. They hide behind the corner, and they find a paper hat, and they're like, okay, so we're going to trick them. So Shaggy takes this paper, he makes a little paper pirate hat, and then he uses his super Shaggy Redbeard voice. Because, Shaggy's able to manipulate his voice in this series.
Which I keep forgetting, so whenever it happens, I'm like, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I like that they keep it up in this series, and then it's just abandoned. Doesn't matter. It's fine. But he does do a really convincing Redbeard.
Yeah.
He's just like, go... I don't remember what he said to them.
I saw them go this way. Go that way!
Yeah, and they, immediately listen to him, but then they also hear Redbeard's actual laugh. Redbeard likes to laugh a lot.
Redbeard's just having the time of his fucking life.
I think C.L. Magnus always wanted to be a pirate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, spoilers, C.L. Magnus is the villain.
Yeah.
So, they decide to go up to the top of the deck after they manage to escape the henchmen, and they're hiding underneath a wooden tub, and they, just keep moving around the top, and then Shaggy kind of, peeks out from underneath, and he's like, gee, I hope they don't find us, Scoop, and it's like, well,
stop
stay
moving,
still.
yeah.
They're gonna find you in that case.
They scoop off of the plank.
The plank, yes. They crawl on the plank and just go right over the ship.
If you've ever seen a pirate ship, you have to step onto the plank. It's not just level off of the ship. So, they had to step up and then keep walking. Okay.
It's fine. Yeah,
sure.
But they go right over the plank, and now they're in the water.
Shaggy made some comment about going from one tub to the other or something like that. It was so stupid.
But then they hear Velma's voice. Shaggy looked at Scooby. He's like, Scooby, your voice has changed.
I was really hoping that because you know how in this series Velma's voice constantly comes out of Daphne?
Well, that happens in any Scooby-Doo series where they switch bodies, yes.
But so I was really hoping that it was going to happen this time, because then he'd be like, Scooby, your voice changed, and then it still wouldn't be right.
But they look up and do see Fred, Daphne, and Velma. They're peeking their heads through the window of the room that they're locked in. And
then they just yell we're locked in! Okay.
Great. Well, we're not on the ship right now, so I don't know how to help you.
I can't do much, but sure.
The ship starts moving, and they decide to follow, to try and keep up and try and save them. So this is the very first instance, from what I read on Scoobypedia, that there is a Skull Island in the Scooby-Doo universe. We have commented before about how Skull Islands are just everywhere in the Scooby-Doo world.
Yeah.
But this is the very first one. Fun fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is evidently where the ship has been hiding out this entire time, when it's not, pirating freighters. Scooby and Shaggy do follow in.
I want to comment on two things during this specific scene.
Okay.
the way that Scooby paddles is just very much of like, I don't want to touch the water. This is disgusting. Like, he's just like barely touching it with his hands and or his paws. And he's just like, ew, ew, ew. And then all of a sudden this shark comes up and he, like, I would have lost my shit.
You see the top fin.
Yeah.
You know.
And so for some reason, Scooby has the audacity to like try and pick up the fin and it's just a fin.
Like, there's no fish underneath it. It's just a swimming fin. Yeah.
So then he like puts it back down and then it like speeds off and splashes him. And I'm just like, what the fuck was that?
When they arrive in the cave, Redbeard like takes Fred, Daphne, and Velma out, and he chains them to the wall, evidently.
So, like, he just had spare, like, cuffs and chains.
He's prepared for this.
Oh, I wonder if that's what he did with all the captains
Before he killed them and made them ghosts, because that's what he threatened the gang with. He's just like, he said something about, like, making them part of his ghostly crew.
Mr. Magnus is not afraid to kill some motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta kill who you gotta kill.
He, wanders off, and they're just, like, standing there, just like, okay, wow, we're chained here. This sucks.
What are we gonna do?
Fred devises this plan.
Oh, for some reason, there's hay on the ground.
Yes, there's that. Fred starts picking up pieces of, like, straw, and he, like, makes a long line of connected straw and attaches a piece of chewed bubblegum to it.
Which, like, where'd he get the bubblegum?
Behind his ear.
Oh, what's that girl from Willy Wonka?
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about. But he decides to try and use it to grab the key, which is conveniently just chilling on the table right by him.
I mean, to be fair, though, that's, like, usually where you would put a key.
So they use the bubble gum to, latch onto the key. They pull it to them, and they manage to escape. It's like, great, awesome. So the three of them start wandering around the caves, and I had to laugh at this. So Daphne makes a comment about how there are 4 tunnels, and she's like, which one should we take? And Velma's like, Mo. Mo? Yeah, sure. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Velma's such a fucking bitch in this episode.
And Fred's like, Mo it is. So then Shaggy and Scooby pop up behind him. Shaggy like grabs Velma's arm and she shrieks.
She did. The funny thing is we didn't even see Scooby and Shaggy. We just see like a hand creep out very ugly. Like nobody has cute hands in this episode. Like this like skeleton hand comes out and just like touches Velma on her shoulder. And she like flipped out and that's when the camera panned out and we see Scooby and Shaggy.
Mm-hmm. But she was in sheer panic. Yeah,
like, I mean, I would have been too.
Fred, like, takes a quick look at Shaggy's paper hat, and he discovers that it's a ship's manifest. It kind of, like, lists all of the cargo and everything that's on the ship, and it also and then they also discover that it's actually the manifest for the ship that's going on tomorrow.
So today is January 9th.
Fun fact.
That we learn.
Yes, it is actually in the episode. Tomorrow is January 10th, which means this is January 9th.
Which means my birthday's in 4 days.
Oh, no. Yeah, so they kind of, like, determine, like, okay, so what does the ghost want with this? And, like, why would he want it?
And, like, how did he get it?
Mm-hmm. So they continue to wander the tunnels because they discover tire tracks on the ground. Which Fred kind of made a snarky comment to Scooby.
Bitch too.
He said, okay, Scooby, I guess you can follow tire tracks.
Fuck you, Fred.
Whatever, Fred.
You can't fucking follow tire tracks.
Fred, you can't function when you don't have the mystery machine. Like, fuck off.
Fred and your fucking fragile masculinity.
Maybe he's just mad at Scooby because he had to share his shake with him earlier.
I mean, honestly, that's fair.
So they do follow them, and they end, like, right at the edge of this wall. There's a chest, a pirate's chest, just chilling. And they're like, what is going on here? Shaggy suggests that the truck is all piled and taken apart and put in the chest. Same.
Shaggy doesn't use soap.
So they discover that inside the chest is like a skeleton head. They discover that it's a voice recorded like skull. Like it talks to them and he's like, what's the password, you squabs?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh,
So
really? What is the password? And I don't remember exactly what they said.
Fred says, 17 sailors on a ship. And then Velma says something along the lines of,
row, 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 mow the man down, something like that. Yeah.
And then Shaggy says liverwurst and pirate.
Alamo.
Yeah.
It was dumb. It was a really long quote. And
that's the one that worked.
That's the one that worked. And the skull just didn't say anything, but it popped its head back in the chest. The wall slides up because that's what happens in this universe. And they're like, whoa, what a password. And they just go right in because the tire tracks do continue. Mm-hmm. They find tons of stolen cargo and shit like that all around this cave.
Yeah.
And they also discover Redbeard and his two henchmen, and they're like, oh no, it's the ghost. And Redbeard's like, yes, and this is my secret hideout, and this is where the secret will stay forever.
Yeah. Indicating, I'm gonna kill you.
Yes. Yeah. The henchmen are told to lower the iron door, which traps the gang inside.
Which also I want to note that there's two different doors for that entrance. There's the cave-looking door, and then there's the iron door. Which means that, he went in and had that iron door put in.
Yes. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That's why he's going bankrupt, Shannon. It's because he's putting a lot of money into these stupid projects.
We've had this conversation that, maybe you wouldn't be... it was the same thing with Mr. Incorporated.
Maybe you just need to downsize from your penthouse and just get, a simple apartment. Let your butler go.
Yeah.
You don't need him. Don't buy a ghost pirate ship. Don't hire henchmen. Don't buy a pirate costume. And also, don't be installing iron doors and password-protected doors inside of a cave off the coast of your city. How about we just not do any of that? And, maybe you might actually be fine.
You might be okay.
That might actually be able to avoid this entire situation.
In all actuality, he probably, in the beginning, only lost, maybe a few $100,000, which, in a company isn't that much. It still sucks, but it's not that much. And, he panicked and then, spent all of this money, and now he's going out of business.
Maybe this is, a midlife crisis or something.
He was yeah, I spent all this money, and now I'm fucked.
So they start, just doing the whole... This is the climax of the episode. They're running around everywhere trying to escape the pirates. Scooby and Shaggy encounter that stupid ghost sword again.
Okay, so Shaggy mistakes a liverwurst for a nightstick and starts trying to fight the sword.
Yes, and the sword starts immediately chopping the liverwurst. The liverwurst slices start landing on a sandwich that Scooby has now prepared, and he eats it.
Yep.
This is not the time for this, Scooby. No. You are about to be killed by a ghost sword.
Fred, Daphne, and Velma make arrows out of plungers. Yes. And then they, take down the henchmen.
It was so dumb. So, Daphne and Velma had string or ropes or something attached to their two plungers. Fire them at the...
two henchmen.
The two henchmen. And, they land, right on their asses. And they're like, whoa! The other end of the rope, though, is attached to Fred's plunger, to which he fires at the roof of the cave. And the two henchmen go flying with it, and now they're just hanging up at the top.
I mean, it works.
They are out of the way.
So then Shaggy goes to Redbeard with this egg beater that he is holding like a gun.
Yes, Redbeard's just ha ha ha, now I'll make a pirate stew out of you. And Shaggy, he's holding this egg beater, threateningly, like a gun. Yeah. He's just hands up and stand back, partner.
And so that happens.
Yeah, he tickles him with the egg beater.
So then they jump on this jackhammer that Shaggy mistakes for a pogo stick.
An automatic pogo stick.
Yeah, and he's like, let's hop on this automatic pogo stick. He won't be able to catch us. So then they start going, and then he's like, this isn't an automatic pogo stick. It's a jackhammer.
Yes. They jackhammer all the way up the wall of the cave. Now they're on the ceiling of the cave. Because Scooby-Doo.
Sure.
And Fred, Daphne, and Velma are like, oh no, they're gonna fall. they drop the jackhammer. It lands like through the backside of Redbeard's pants.
I visibly gasped.
Yes, you actually did.
Like this episode is not a kid's episode. Like they've already threatened decapitation. Like so when the jackhammer fell and like Redbeard didn't move, I was like, oh, he'll move, and then he didn't. So I was like, and then it fell in his pants, and Shannon I literally was just like when it fell in his pants, I was like, I don't know why I thought that was gonna end any different. And Derek was like, yeah, I don't know why. But I got like really into it, and Derek was just like making fun of me for
why
it.
Are you so invested in this character in Scooby-Doo?
I don't even fucking care about Redbeard, but I was just like, I'm gonna see blood. Like, oh my god, what the fuck?
We saw it in the first episode.
Yeah.
So,
Fred tasted it.
So Redbeard, now having this jackhammer going down his ass, he like rides all the way across the cave to like this pile of tires.
Somehow he knocks down the henchmen though.
Yeah, somehow the henchmen are also in the tires and they're all tied up with the tires. It's like great.
Convenient.
Now I'm imagining like now that they're in the tires, the gang must have like grabbed them all, gathered them back on the ship, and then piloted the ship out of the cave, and now they're just chilling in the water. And the U.S. Coast...
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, they were still in the water. They're on the ghost ship at the moment, because then the U.S. Coast Guard shows up. So Fred, like, must have maneuvered the ship out of the out of the cave.
I want to say maybe it was, like, just out of their jurisdiction, so they were like, we'll take it back to their jurisdiction, but it's the U.S. Coast Guard, like... It's all their jurisdiction.
I don't know.
I don't know how this works.
So it is discovered that C.L. Magnus is the ghost of Redbeard, and the police officer was like, okay, so who are the other guys? And Daphne really passively just throwaways, well, I guess just pirate henchmen, I guess.
I guess. We don't fucking care about
them. Doesn't matter. They didn't say a single word. Like, they don't matter.
They're going to jail, too. Who fucking cares?
You see, like, I want to believe that the butler is one of them, but it wasn't revealed to be that. And the butler was, like, actually a character that they talked to. So, like...
Well, also, like, neither of the henchmen looked like the butler.
That, too. So, I can't conclusively say the butler was at all involved in this, which is why I say, like, the butler is just being a rude-ass butler overhearing their conversation earlier in the episode.
And that's why I also said, like, I was waiting for him to be an FBI agent, because, like, he
because that shit always happens. Yeah,
he overheard, or, like, he could have been, like, the U.S.
I've been tracking C.L. Magnus for months.
Yeah. And you kids showed up in a day and solved it. Like,
right.
And imagine, because it was 11 o'clock when they did it, so did this whole, like, they didn't go home at all. So, like, this got concluded at, like, 3 a.m.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then they, like, went to bed.
They solved the mystery in a matter of, like, 2 to 3 hours.
They went to bed and then woke up, like, 5 minutes later and went to school.
If this is a school night,
yeah,
yes.
Like, they only got 3 hours of sleep and then they went to school. Like, high five for having a full-time job and also going to school.
So the officer, he also asked, like, how the fog was, being made. Because they kind of determined earlier in the episode that the ghost ship only appears in the fog.
Yeah.
So we kind of glossed over this part. So when Fred, Daphne, and Velma were in that room, like, looking for the ghost of Redbeard, the real one that we determined, they discovered, like, this tub of dry ice. And they didn't really say it at the time, but it turns out that the dry ice, they would drop it in the water around the ship, and it would cause this, like, foggy effect, which would make the ghost ship, like, look more spooky and everything like that.
Which, like, I get, but the ship is moving, so you're dropping dry ice in the water, and then you're moving away from the fog.
Maybe they're, like, tossing it in front of the ship?
I guess, but my thought, like, it would have made a hell of a lot more sense if they just had, like, a lot of dry ice and then just kept it on the ship's board.
Yeah.
Because then that is going to, like, continuously fog and stay on the ship.
Well, I also just like this idea of how many pieces of dry ice they have to have to make that big of a foggy effect to cover this entire ghost ship. Yeah. It's unfeasible. I think you would probably have to have an amount of dry ice that is equal to the size of your ship.
Also, maybe don't spend all your money on dry ice.
Maybe also don't touch the dry ice with your fucking bare hands like Scooby did.
Okay, when Scooby picked up the dry ice, I literally could feel it in my hands. Like, I wanted to cry.
Yes, because Velma told him, like, to demonstrate, like, this is what happens when you put the dry ice in the water. And, yeah, Scooby just grabs it and drops it in the water, like, this tub of water nearby. A big wall of fog appears, and Scooby uses his nails, not his knife, and cuts like a little donut out of it. He eats the donut, and, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, and...
End of episode.
End of episode. Go away, ghost ship. Shannon, what did you award this episode on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
I gave this episode a 5.
Okay.
It's one of those, like, I didn't hate it. It's definitely not one of my least favorite episodes, but it's also definitely not one of my favorite episodes. I think that there was just so much potential with this episode, and they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many other things, like, I mean, just that didn't make sense. Like, the stupid fucking sword. I don't know if we mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Fred said that it was attached to, like, a live wire, but...
Which doesn't make sense, because...
Then how did it go right through the wall like an actual ghost sword when they first encountered it?
Yeah, it went through the wall. It was on the ship, and then there was another one, or, like...
The same one, I guess.
That was in the...
In the cave,
In the cave. And also, like... It just, I would have honestly rather them not addressed it at all, and then you and I would have speculated that it was the real ghost, like, fucking with them.
Or how about just not have it at all in the episode? Like, that also would have been fine with me. Fine. We did kind of gloss over this, too. So what C.L. Magnus was also doing was he was stealing cargo and the ships from his own company, and then selling the cargo, like, I guess off to the black market or something like that.
But then I'm sure he also collected the insurance money.
You see, that's what I was about to say. I don't think they actually explicitly say that, but I imagine, he does get insurance money or something like that, which is supposed to help him put money into his business, which is failing.
Yeah.
And, like, that's actually a really realistic crime, which I appreciate for this, which is actually why I'm going to give this a 6 today.
Okay.
I also acknowledge this could have a lot more potential. They could clean up some of it to make it, make a little bit more sense. But I also acknowledge it being a Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode, so I don't have high hopes for it.
No.
The mystery was fun. The ghost was threatening. He was constantly threatening them.
There was also a real ghost.
Yes, there was evidently a real ghost somewhere on that ship. I don't know. It was really straightforward. Like, it was a really straightforward, clean Scooby-Doo mystery for the most part. And that's why I'm not going to hate on it too much. I'm going to give this one a 6 today.
Okay.
So with my 6, your 5, we are awarding Go Away Ghost Ship a 5.5 on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter.
Woohoo!
Our fun fact for the week is also in regards to this episode. It's kind of interesting to think that the model that they used for the Ghost of Redbeard, like the character model, was reused in the new Scooby-Doo movies.
Really?
Yes. So one of the 3 episodes in the new Scooby-Doo movies that featured the Harlem Globetrotters, I can't remember the title of the episode itself, but it did involve ghost pirates. And the main character, I think it was supposed to be Blackbeard the pirate, but it was the same character model. He looks exactly like Redbeard. The only difference is that they actually made the ghost in that episode completely white.
Okay.
Like, top to bottom, he looks like he was covered in flour, white ghost. So it's just kind of interesting that they reused that model for that character.
We wouldn't notice?
Yeah. I even think that his pirate crew looks the same, too.
Huh.
I would have to rewatch it, but so I do know for one fact, though, is that Redbeard is reused as Blackbeard in the new Scooby-Doo movies, which is a series that follows this one. So, it didn't even take that long for them to start reusing character models.
It wasn't very long for them to be like, I don't fucking care.
I mean, and that's not the only time either they did that, because they also used the base model of the Green Ghost, the Phantom Shadows from Scooby-Doo Where Are You in the new Scooby-Doo movies when they met, what was her name? I'm fucking forgetting her name.
My thing is, like...
But they end up reusing that model of that ghost for the Metropolitan ghosts.
Okay.
They're like ice cream ghosts in this like candy factory.
I think that like for the new Scooby-Doo movies that they spent so much money on paying celebrities that they just like did bare minimum for everything else.
Well, also the episodes were twice as long in runtime.
And sucked.
Yes. So it's just interesting to think about.
Okay.
So that was the fun fact for this week. And this is the last episode of season 3 for That Groovy Scoobcast. So we don't have to randomize an episode today. In fact, that's something that you guys get to choose. We have mentioned it before. We are doing our typical seasonal giveaway. We are giving away a pair of Scooby-Doo socks as well as a set of Scooby-Doo rubber wristbands from Hot Topic. And if you are interested in trying to win those, all you have to do is communicate with us online and let us know what episode of Scooby-Doo Where Are You do you want to see us review next season. So long as it's not an episode that we've already reviewed, just let us know in the comments. You can reach out to us on Twitter at Groovy Scoobcast, on Tumblr at That Groovy Scoobcast, or Facebook at That Groovy Scoobcast.
And while you're at it, you can check out our website, www.thatgroovyscoobcast.com.
Or shoot us an email, thatgroovyscoobcast@gmail.com. Season 3 is over, Shannon.
Felt good.
Did it?
I can't believe we've already done 3 seasons.
How about the fact that we started this podcast about a year ago?
I know. I want to thank everybody who's been with us for that entire year.
I feel sorry for you guys who have been with us this entire year.
I mean,
listening to us
for a whole
talk
year?
about Scooby-Doo for like an hour or so each week.
Like, but honestly, like, I want to thank everybody who's been with us since season 1, people who have joined us along the way. Like, thanks, guys.
And
it's been 3 whole seasons.
Yeah. And, you know, with that, we hope that you've been enjoying That Groovy Scoobcast, and we hope that you continue to do so.
So come back next season for a Scooby snack-filled time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.